Hello and welcome. Get your starting guns ready. We're off. Welcome to part 3 of Betrayer. Look at how slowly one reloads a gun in this game. Can you imagine how much more difficult this would be if I was using those? Yeah, I know. I thought that not using them would be harder, but it's not. So, it's part 3. If you missed part 1 and 2, welcome. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm playing Betrayer. I played it before, but this time I'm doing it without the benefit of firearms. I'm not going to shoot any guns, except for that time when I shot that gun, like 20 seconds ago. I'm sure you were there. Do you remember that? I remember it. I remember it fondly because this game is actually really boring and not fun without guns. Who'd have ever thought that a shooter would be like that? Certainly not I. Oh well, off we go, into the dark. So last time we left off where I had done some of the dark, but not all of it. And I'm gonna do it now. So good for me. Bit of a jump cut there, we were having a little bit of a trouble with the frame rate, so messing about was required. You may have noticed that, where it froze up for a second. It didn't actually freeze, the frame rate just dropped really low. It's the recording software. I'm sorry. It happens sometimes. But off we go. We've got stuff and rubbish to do and nonsense, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna rush through this because I'm kind of getting bored. I'm sorry, I thought this would be exciting when I started, and then it wasn't. And it's longer than all the other playthroughs that I've done so far, so that's good. Sorry, there's something out. Oh! I think that's the thief. Yeah, he's running away. Where is he? Yes. Total non-threat there. So we're off on our radial paths through the forest to grab stuff. And then we talk to these guys. Oh, sorry. We talk to these guys and then we go back to town and we talk to someone else. Then we'll come back out here to talk to another guy and then we'll go back. It's really annoying. I'm pretty sure though, however, that we can actually just cut across because this wraith is unrelated, so I don't have to do it in any specific order. Oh, come on. I totally should have hit. Occasionally these bad things happen, and they're not great. Where's my tomahawk? There you are. So let's continue into the forest. So yeah, they have not escalated with the threats quite yet. It's coming, eventually, but not yet, which is a shame because we are now, I'm going to say 85% of the way through the game. Which means that by now you should have, especially considering that it has been fairly weak, especially on the horror side, this side of the world. It's all skeletons. They have some variation in them, and that the skeletons are all slightly different colours. Where's my How does that go through the tree? Seriously. Sticks and other things. So we'll give her an old chat, get a bit more story, and continue our investigation, and then press on. Okay, cool. So then it's back to the fort, which really should not be a problem. Ooh. Yeah, these are not placed in the best places. I've noticed so far that they mostly stick them somewhere where they're going to trick you. Now, where is my... I don't know how these get on a trajectory where they go so far away. No wonder I have such a hard time finding the dang things. Okay. So back into town. We're going to wrap up this, and then hopefully we should move into the next area. All around the 5-minute mark, maybe? Like I've criticized before, a lot of this considering that this is the main story element outside of the... It's not fantastic combat, especially if you're not using the guns. The guns are really what makes it. It's a shooter. It's a horror shooter. And a lot of the horror does come from the fact that if there's something rampaging towards you and you've got a gun which, as you saw at the beginning of the video, reloads really slow, that can totally be an exciting and thrilling moment. But when you've got an axe which throws faster, then no. And soon, because I have completed this game previously, I know how to get the Red Maiden's Charm, and that's gonna boost up my powers so that I can just knife everything without needing to stealth them. Instant knife kills, which you'd think would be a standard, but they're not. So I think... No, this guy we don't need to finish off because we can't finish his investigation until right at the very end, when we talk to his henchman who he sent to murder the rest of his family, because he is our villain. The game's called Betrayer, and it's all about betrayal. It's like a running theme or something. Goodness. Hello, let's tell you about stuff. Complete these quest lines. Offload the junk in my inventory so you can have some presents apart from that. Really, this is the most compelling part of the game, is the stories, and just seeing them. Even though right now I've got the rhythm down, and you sort of know how the story is going to unfold, because there is a very distinct rhythm, a pattern to each story that you sort of like, I'm starting to see how these go, but they're still not bad for all that. And when you talk to her and she gives you her like summary and her thoughts on like the actions of the other colonists, it's like, I enjoy that. I really do. So yeah, I think that should be it. Let's go down. Here we go. Okay, we are now in the second to last area, and the last real area, because the next area is just like, it's just there to be the end. This is the Deep Forest, and it is where everything starts to escalate, or it should, but I'm going to show you why it doesn't. Now you might be considering, what do you exactly mean when you say escalate? By escalate, I just mean that they got rid of the conquistadors. Those are gone. Gone and done. Those guys dropped a ton of ammunition that you could use and then just shoot back at them, so that there was never any scarcity of ammunition. They're gone. So your firearms, you now need to conserve ammunition to a limited extent. You can still get it out of crates and you can still buy it. So it's not that bad. Also by this point you would probably have a whole stack of ammunition capacity upgrades. So yeah, it's still not that great. But they do increase the sheer number of enemies on the map. And all of those enemies were at one point Bernies. They're not anymore. Because if I'm right, there will be a bunch of spiders in this section as well, because the spiders had replaced certain clusters of enemies in the previous area. That I see no reason that they won't do it here also. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm using the map to avoid enemies, because by skirting around the outer area I can run without needing to stealth, without needing to crouch, and without needing to worry about any enemies spotting me and attacking me. And I can do this because there is a distinct tell to let you know when Bernie is around, and you can hear him in the forest right now. He gives that sort of distinctive bird's cry, which, yeah, there he goes there. And because of that, under normal circumstances it would be a warning that there is a guy there. And if the map did not have the chests on it, I would therefore have to sneak into that area, surrounded by enemies, knowing that they're there but not being able to see them, in order to search for clues and chests and whatnot. And that would be good. That would be great. And that's what I had to do on my first playthrough, because the map had not been, the game had not been updated to a point in which that map had all the chests on it. In this case, however, I don't need to stealth, I don't need to take it slow, I can just simply run across the map. I can look at the map and say, okay, I run along the bottom of the map and then I turn up here and I go into this section and I pick up all of the stuff that I want. And I'm going to show you this entire section in all its unedited glory as I demonstrate just how easy it is for me to avoid the enemies. I don't know where they are. I know the general areas because of that tell. That's a horror tell that's supposed to help build tension. But since the game has provided me with the information to let me know which areas I don't ever have to bother to explore, then I'm not going to bother to explore those. They're empty. There is no reason for me to go there. Previously, I might have gone there to see if the stuff that was, you know, if there was something hidden there that I needed to find, or some sort of clue or something like that. Not a problem anymore. And that's an update which has taken a horror game which was not that horrific and has further de-horrified it. So I'm super not happy about that, because when they said that they were updating, they were including new enemy types and stuff, I was thinking, awesome. Huh. It's stuck, okay. Can we not get that? Oh, come on, it's right there. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, well, I'll just buy a new one. I think that's fair because it's stuck, it's there. That's the game's fault, it's not my fault that it's glitched into a wall, because normally if it gets stuck in a tree or a wall you can recover it. I did so at the very beginning of the video. It's annoying that that gets stuck because, yeah, it should be recoverable. Sometimes they're an absolute pain to find if you lose them in the woods, but whatever. Yep. So just cutting a little bit there. I'm just outside the forest. You could see me on the map in comparison to where I was compared to those huts. Gonna just grab this chest or note. Dig spot. There we are. Up there. Okay. So now I'm going to go into the interior of the forest, which is where Bernard lives, and I'm gonna mix it up. I will have to probably do some sneaking, but yeah, tension's gone. The escalation has failed. The number of enemies in here is so much higher as to make them an actual threat to you. Although I have now got another health upgrade, so that they are. I can fight for longer without needing to retreat, and that is making it that much easier. So I can't see any of them. I can hear them, and I can hear them close by. So, yeah. But still, I think I'm going to avoid them relatively easily. It's just slightly better than what I'm carrying. At this point, I'm not too fussed about stuff. I'm just trying to push through and get this done. So, I mean, you can imagine doing this, where your attacks are somewhat feeble. Hope that doesn't get stuck in the tree. Good. Your attacks are somewhat feeble, your weapons reload slowly, you've got an unknown enemy in a large enough number to kill you, kill you rather quickly, should you get caught. You've got a chance to fight back, but, you know, it's still more of a nuisance than anything else, if I'm honest, but still threatening enough. Threatening enough for this to be somewhat interesting. This could actually add some good horror here, but it doesn't. It doesn't, and it's because they haven't utilized, you know, these enemies to the fullest extent earlier. They've let you get used to them. They're not scary anymore. So here we go. If this had been earlier, that would have been great. you know. And also the forest is a change in setting, because this is just like forest, whereas the other one's got like plenty of clearings, you've got buildings and forts and whatnot. Maybe if they'd interspersed things a bit more. I don't know. I like this area, and ideally if I was doing things I would have moved it earlier. I would have shifted the things around, yeah, just done things differently, because there's so much good here. There's so much good. I can't, like, just, it's just been a bad idea to not play it with the guns, because, yeah, the fact that you can attack faster and more easily and be actually quite effective without them is not good. Whoa! Ugh, that is so annoying. Yeah, so far those have... I'm questionable about their placement, because they have just been nuisances more than anything else. They surprise you, rather than being like, hey, check this out. This is going to herd you in a certain direction, or divert you or something. They're traps. The traps, and they damage you, and it's not scary, and it doesn't do anything except make you have to backtrack a little bit in order to pick up healing at a healing barrel. So yeah, they're not great. If they were like more distinctly colourful, easier to spot, but you couldn't destroy them, so that they could divert you into dangerous areas, that would have been cool. That would have been praiseworthy, I think. I would have praised it anyway. Okay, so we've got to get the bell. I know where it is. It's somewhere out here in the deep forest by the trapper's den. But here we have a biggin. So I knew that they had replaced some of the areas with spiders, and I just can't get over how easy they are to defeat. Hey you. I mean, I know that there are lots of gamers who don't like spiders in games. They're absolutely terrifying, so good for them if they were playing a horror game. I'm an arachnophobic. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't know. It's just, yeah, petrified of them in real life, but not in video games. Electronic form, nothing. But yeah, they're an easier enemy. They're less stealthy. They're easier to see. They're easier to kill than Bernie. So really, by removing Bernie, it's more variation, which is nice. Maybe if they had mixed things up, because it seems to be that if you walk into one sector and there is spiders, then it is all spiders. It's not a mixture of the two, you know. And one of the things you can do with limited assets is that you mix and match different groups with different abilities, so that you create new situations that require new responses from the player in order to get around the fact that you've got a limited pool of resources. Huh, they can spit, didn't know that. But here they just concentrate them all in one place, and basically all the enemies have almost the same response. Bernie is stealthy, but once you reveal him, he rushes at you and shoots. The conquistadors rush at you and shoot. The skeletons rush and shoot. The shadows either rush, and some of them can shoot, so they also rush and shoot. So you can sort of see that you respond to them all exactly the same way. There's, apart from Bernie, who you will crouch walk through the forest in order to avoid, none of the other guys require a different tactic in order to bypass them. They might as well be the same. They're cosmetic differences, really. And cosmetic differences can make a big difference if they're done right. But in the most part, we've got what have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 humanoids who are roughly the same shape and do the same thing. Whoops, almost ran into that. So yeah, that's they look so similar as to, or similar enough as to not immediately be like, oh, this is more frightening than one or the other. And especially bad is the Dark World, because you've got skeletons and shadows and that's it, and you've got variations on each of them. Whoop-de-doo, because they all behave the same and they all go down about as easily. You start off with these sort of greyish skeletons. I've got these bright white skeletons. I've got dark skeletons. I'm not sure which ones are the strongest. I suspect that it's like the shock white skeletons are the most powerful because they've only appeared the most recently. But considering that I can one-shot all of them, and they all seem to do roughly the same damage, or at least not the difference isn't significant enough for me to notice, I feel like they might as well be the same. They behave the same, and they are, yeah, it's just bad. If they behave differently, maybe you'd have something going on. I've just run right across the map without encountering any enemies, which is interesting. But we should get some as we come down the hill to where that cursed chest was that we found earlier. There'll be a totem pole, it'll pop up, it'll scream, a whole bunch of enemies will pop out of the ground, I'll throw axes at them, and yeah, rinse and repeat. And yeah, that was surprising, certainly the first time. Maybe it caught you off guard a second time. There could be some horror. There is some horror in knowing that something bad is going to happen. That can certainly work. But the fact that they've repeated it so many times, it has become commonplace, means, yeah. The totem poles. Could you have done something different? Maybe. But yeah, I'm probably complaining too much because this is an indie studio and what can you do? That bomb did not seem to do much. Oh bugger, I think I just shot that. Yep, I did. I shot the musket. I meant to swing my knife, but I forgot. Once you pick up a weapon, it swing knife changes key bindings, so I just wanted to carry the legendary weapons around with me. That's all. I wanted to carry them around with me because I'm not using them, so I feel like I kick all the horror's butt without using any guns, and then when the twist ending happens, because yes, it's a horror game, there's always going to be a, oh, you thought you won? Ha! No, you didn't. Bad things still happening. When that happens, it'll be like, well, guess what? I'm carrying all these awesome guns with me, and I never used them before. You thought I was a badass then? I'm a super badass now. So it's it's entirely pointless, and I really should scrap them because they serve no purpose, but it makes me feel good to have them. And now another complaint. The quests. Would that they had set things up, I don't know, a bit more involved in the mysteries. As it is, it's like, go to point A and pick up an item. Come back to the Wraith and say, do you recognize this item? It's a murder weapon. Ooh. Now go to point B and talk to another Wraith. I was murdered. Were you murdered with this gun? Yes. Go back to the other Wraith. Did you murder them with this gun? I remember a murder with that gun happening. Oh, that's vague enough that it could have been someone else. Let's talk to Wraith number C. Etc. And that just means that you're running backwards and forwards from a hub point. It would be nice if I could just be like, all the stuff is in the world, and I go out and I collect it all, and then I piece it together myself. That would have been awesome, and it would have also prevented me from having to run backwards and forwards between a certain point, and it's like going out on the spokes of a wheel. It's not just a straight backwards and forwards path, but once the enemies along that path are killed, then they don't respawn. There's no surprise and whatnot at the end, so that I have to go, dang, I'm gonna have to come, you know, back, and am I gonna make it safely? Of course I am. I know that there's nothing in the way, so I can just run back and forth like an idiot, and it's fine, and I do. Yeah, it's a common thing with quests in any video game, that they basically amount to a lot of busy work in order to pad things out. And again, indie studio, I get it. They may not have the budget or the resources to go like super in depth with you being like, I need to assemble how these things work. Think Ethan Carter. That's what I'm thinking of. Ethan Carter. If I had like, you've got these clues, put them together along with what the wraiths say, and then tell me what happened. Something more involving. Because right now it's sort of like, here's a mystery, and as a detective, if you find all the clues, you've got your answer. You don't need to think about it, I'll just give it to you. Just pick up 6 pieces of different rubbish. Okay, so here we are in the final area. It's Dark World already. Yes, this area is always perpetually shrouded in darkness. There is no light version of this, which makes it that much quicker. Also, all the clues, it feels like this is slightly rushed maybe, I'm not sure. All of the clues are clustered around right at the beginning of this thing, and it's nice because this story ties back to the story of the guy at Fort Hope, which ties to the Red Maiden, which means that it's one of only 3 stories which is actually seems to be interconnected. I've said this previously, but I don't think that the description on that was correct. I've said this previously, but it feels like a lot of the stories do not tie together particularly well. There's a story about witchcraft. There is a story about ancient cursed ruins. It's like, hey, it's trying to imply that maybe Tabitha, who is the missing girl, had something to do with the evil spirits and the devil, but also the colonists, because they got all greedy for treasure, went out to the cursed ruins and awoken something that was sleeping out there. And it's like, what actually happened? And the game is like, buh. So it doesn't feel like it ties together in a sensible way, or at least not without overthinking it, which I would be totally down for, overthinking a story and putting crap together, because, yeah, but I don't care enough to do so. Let's face it, I'm enough to fanboy up and defend like something using obscure lore to patch plot holes in a thing, because you can patch the biggest potholes if you're determined. But you have to care. You have to care in order to do that. And I don't. So I think there's monsters out here. We're just going to run around and pick up all the stuff. It's mostly legendary weaponry, again. Some of it might be coins. Oh, here we go. So, that was a cut. There is a big monster. That is the final new monster type. It is a shadow. His skull is a different shape. And he takes twice as much damage as anything else. Super fun. That description is wrong. That should be a pendant shaped like an arrowhead. I've played this before. That's a clue. Never guessed otherwise. So this is the source of corruption, why everything is all burnt and, like, you know, everyone is ash figures and possessed in junk. I don't know, it seems like the story is trying to connect this, that maybe Tabitha is all consorting with dark powers, and therefore when her father had her killed her as like, hey, I will not be embarrassed by people, like, you know, not having their own free will and stuff and being thinking people who have stuff. So she was pregnant by one of the Indian boys. They liked each other, so he dragged her out into the woods and staked her up and slit her throat outside of their village to just be like, yeah, what you gonna do? And then, like, told them that they were all savages and stuff, and then planned on having his other daughter, who was like, what happened to my sister? We don't know what happened to your sister. I'm gonna go look for her. He's like, I better kill her too. and then he killed his wife as well because he suspected that she knew but didn't tell him, even though apparently from the other context that we get, she probably didn't know. She didn't know that her daughter was dating some boy, and so he tied her to a tree and let her be eaten by wolves because he's a lovely man. And so it's implied that maybe something to do with dark arts, and that's why she is empowered to put the curse down on everyone, and bad junk happens. But I feel like this... It's odd, because when you see the end of the game, it's going to be like, wait, what? That's not... When it comes to consorting with dark powers and stuff, that doesn't... Yeah. Look, I'm trying not to spoil it. You're probably going to watch this. I'm going to show you the end of the game. So, when you reach the end of the game, it's like, evil Indian curse. It's like, what does that have to do with European witchcraft? Was she consorting with the cursed beings? If she was, are they evil? They don't do anything. She does all the bad stuff, supposedly, because she was like tormented and killed by some bad people, and then she punished them for it, and that's like, okay. I'm not seeing how that makes the shadows evil, that they gave someone the power to, you know, it's, yeah. I'm not articulating that particularly well, but yeah. It's kind of, it feels like it's a bit of a mess, and it doesn't make enough sense to me. And I'm gonna forget about it as soon as I stop playing this. So I think that's done with the Indian village and its environs. There's a couple of doodads out in the woods that should be... Oop. Kill these guys just to get them out of the way. Totally missed there. Oh, come on. There we go. And it should be the last one. Yep. I don't think there's any more monsters in the woods, so I'm probably not going to need to do... Oh, wait, I spoke too soon. Unreliable tomahawk range. It's just terrible. Okay. Let's talk to this guy. We wrap his little bit up so that we can now backtrack along the path and do the other stuff. Thankfully, there's a fast travel system. The game never tells you about it, but it's there. So we can come back here and we can talk to her. And she'll tell you stuff about, you know, how you'll be like, hey, I found your sister and she's burning and on fire. Well, I set the funeral pyre in order to, you know, put her to rest. I built a pyre for her and burnt her body. And now her body is evil and cursed. I think that she's drawing power from all the souls that are trapped here. You might have to release them. It's like, well, okay. Secret, you don't have to. You can actually go out and not do that. You can just go and confront Tabitha straight away. The difference is that if you don't free the souls, there's extra waves, because that's what the boss fight amounts to. Waves. She's like a multi-stage totem pole. You walk up to her, lots of enemies burst out of the ground, you kill them, then another wave appears, you kill those, etc. It repeats itself. It's actually really bad. It's kind of lazy. That's coming from someone who has considered using waves in mod campaigns. I'm just like, I'm tempted. Because it would be a really easy way to put in some combat. It would be bad. It would be bad. I don't know. Maybe I'll go over one of my mods with you at some point. And we'll talk shop. Maybe that'll be fun. We'll see. It's not for this game, by the way. I'm not talking about that. All my mods are for Legend of Grimrock, which is awesome. You should check it out. You should download my mods. But completely unrelated, we're still talking to her. I hope you've been reading along, because it's fun. Reading for profit and pleasure. because I'm not explaining. This explains it better than my brief explanation. Well, actually, my brief explanation was pretty good. I think you'll agree if you have been reading that. Should give her the scrap of cloth that I found. I'll tell her to make something with it. So I can tell her, there's a scrap that's been torn off your dress, you could use it to fix your dress. We don't want to say that, because we have the wood carving that we got in area 2. And we give it to her and say, make something with it. And then we give it the cloth and say, make something with it. And then she gives us the Red Maiden's Charm, which is the best charm in the game. It's great. It's just generally an all-purpose charm, but combining that with certain other ones is going to make us really powerful. Like, it's powerful enough that if you've got, like, you won't be detected so easily, you can literally just run up to enemies from behind and hit them, and they don't really realize it. Which is nice. Speeds things up a bit. It's the reason that they'll wait until right at the end to give it to you. Just makes it easier when you have to backtrack to each area in order to talk to all the wraiths. Might as well do this area here. So at this point, we wrap up the investigation, and we point out to this guy that he sent assassins to kill his other daughter after he's already killed the other members of his family. She doesn't know anything, but he's like, rather than let her find out, well, not even, rather than let her find out that I killed her sister, it's more like, well, I feel like she might shame me at some point in the future, so I'm just going to kill her anyway. He's saying that he's afraid that she'll bring doom back to the colony, which kinda does. And then there's this dude. Yep, okay, cool. What do I have to do in order to get to the point where I can release or condemn? Yeah, maybe I just have to go through these conversation options. If I remember rightly. I've only done this once. All flows from there. Hooray, updates. Okay, now we'll try it. Yep, cool. See, this is the point where we can either condemn or release a person. And read his thing about his, like, being stuck here. I've totally sent him off to be tormented, because what a jerk. I'm very much in the opinion that no one should be tortured forever, because, you know, no one deserves that, and forever is an awful long time. So we're going to release most of the souls, but this is a video game, and it's just satisfying to send that guy off, because this guy, for example, he's all, I wish that, you know, things had been different, and I hadn't done the terrible thing that I did that was so terrible, and it's like, at least you are remorseful about the terrible thing that you did, and therefore I can totally forgive you for that, you know? You recognize that you've done something bad, and you're sorry for it. Go on your way. Whereas James Markley is all like, I wish that, you know, I'm totally not repentant for the fact that I murdered my entire family. In fact, I wish that they hadn't forced me to do it by being so selfish and awful as to have, you know, their own lives. I didn't like that, and that's why I had to kill them. It's like, wow, that's just awful. Yeah, we took a hit there, but ultimately doesn't matter. There's also the option to condemn people, even though there's quite a few of these wraiths and lost souls who are like, I've done absolutely nothing wrong, I was murdered by someone. It's like, I condemn you for getting murdered by someone. How dare you be murdered in such a fashion as to be, prompt someone to murder you. Clearly did something wrong to be the victim of a murder. Yeah, you're not going to condemn them, not unless you're a jerk. ultimately, in gameplay-wise, it doesn't actually matter which one you choose. You can, like, release all of them, or condemn all of them, or do a mixture. Doesn't change anything. There's an achievement for it. Doesn't matter that way either. As long as you just talk to all of them and pick one of the options, or a mix of both. So here's another bad guy. He killed his friend, and he's like, what have I done? It's been tormenting me, and I'm like, good. Go to your rest. I'm sure I don't actually need to describe what's going on. Wow, I missed a lot of items in this area. Oh well. Click them up later. Off screen. Yeah, see? That's the Charm of the Red Maiden in action. I just ran straight up to that guy. Usually they'd be alerted by the sound of your feet coming. Okay, your son was killed. Don't feel bad about it. It's sad, but let go of the grief. I'm pretty much just going to release all of them. It gives you a chance to see them, and the fact that I'm pretty sure that almost all of them repent. You've already seen the one guy who doesn't, and not one guy, there's two of them. Let's play a guessing game, try and figure it out if you've been watching and reading along. Which one do you think is the other one that I'm going to condemn? Which one? You're going to be like, I've been watching your videos, and you skip the conversations in favor of rushing through this, so it's really hard to decide. It's like, okay, that is totally fair. Is there someone out here? You'll excuse me if I indulge myself and just, you know, smacking a guy with a knife because I can. I've got the powers of various charms which make me harder to detect, and my knife extra powerful. Blam. That was satisfying. Okay, back to the business at hand. I believe that there should be 3 guys here. I know there are actually 1 Wraith and 3 Lost Souls, but one of the Lost Souls disappears after you talk to her the first time. So I think it's just the 3 of them in this place. And he's repentant, so he gets his peace. There's a brief moment of hesitance there, like I was actually considering the other alternative, but yeah, totally not. Oh, so we press on. Thankfully we can fast travel, and it's not terribly slow within an area, and yeah, that's good. It's a shame that the game doesn't actually inform you at any point if this fast travel system exists. You've just got to kind of figure it out by yourself. Which I did. So I was just waving my mouse. The first time I played through, I was just waving my mouse around, and I just hit one of the things. It was like, oh, it's fast travel. It's a tutorialization issue. It doesn't actually matter since you have to, like, you know, if you had to walk back manually, then you walk back manually. Fine. You have to stop by each area anyway, so why not? All the bad ones are... not bad ones, all the wraiths and ghosts are all scattered around the area, so you have to run around in circles. Yeah, I mean, I get how this whole quest line ties together with, it's like, look, you get to have some closure on all these stories, you get a binary moral choice, which everybody loves, not that it actually does anything, and you also get some padding, because let's face it, you'd have just done the thing that you're doing now without realizing that you're reducing the boss's difficulty in the end, because, well, not difficulty, you were reducing the length. It's not any harder, it just takes longer. Yeah. It actually, when I think about it, it really should have just let us conclude each story as we come across. Finish the investigation? Good. You can now release or condemn all the spirits which are trapped in the area, and then move on to the next one so that you don't need to backtrack, and that way you're good. You can come back for collectibles, but you don't need to. All the things that you need the shovel for when you come back for later, they're either treasure, which you don't need because you will have a like stack of it by the time you reach that point later, or it's legendary weapons, which you don't need because you can only equip 3 and you will find like 6 or 7 by the time that you need to backtrack to find the rest. So it's like, who cares? So yeah, you really should have been able to just finish this up, because it's not like you're gonna go, hey, you're gonna have to fight like a whole bunch of extra waves of enemies at the end if you don't do this. It's like, well, then I'll do it, because fighting more waves is it's not hard, it just takes longer. I firmly fall into that camp. It's like, look, I get that a lot of people are like, look, I made 6 enemies and they all have 1,000 health and they surround you and you can't move. Now you stand there and you swing at them for ages. That's difficulty because you took damage. It's like, no, it isn't. I couldn't move. All I did was click a button and away you go. It didn't involve any skill, really. So, I'm not explaining it very well, but we'll get to my opinions on what makes things difficult at a later point, I'm sure. Especially if we get to Legend of Grimrock, which we should, because I like that game. And I already have a challenge run lined up, because someone else did it, and I'm like, I could totally do that. It sounds like a good idea. And I know my Legend of Grimrock pretty damn well, because I've played through it several times. I've modded it a whole bunch, and yeah, I think I've got 700 hours or so in that game. Though, admittedly, most of that was using the editing tools to mod it, so it's not quite as impressive as all that, but still, I know it well. That'll be something to look forward to if you're into that sort of thing, and also for some reason watching a video about Betrayer and you're, you know, like, wow, I would totally watch a Legend of Grimrock video, because we have the same taste in games for some reason. Betrayer and Legend of Grimrock, they've got nothing to do with one another. I know, right? It's crazy. Okay, let's see, how many... I think that's it. That's the last guy. Send him off to his torment because he was pretty much... I would totally be down with some murders. I wish that I had been a more successful murderer. It's like, yeah, that's not... If you had just repented, I would have been fine. But you're not repenting, you're just like, I feel so bad about not being more murderific than I already am. If I could have been a bigger dick, would have been great. It's like, sorry, it's not how it works. Off you go to the bad times. Okay, one last one. See, this is just, it's padding. Oh, if you could have just done it on a case-by-case basis as you'd gone, it would have been so much better. Because I don't know how many people are going to be, I would like to fight more waves during the waves, because, yeah, no one. Surely no one. Especially considering the game is already too long, so you're kind of at this point going, let it be done. Yay, that's all, everyone. Okay, now we need to wrap it up, and it's just a little bit more padding. It's like, yes, I've released them all. It's like, excellent, you can now go and confront my sister. It's like, I had to tell you about it first, because otherwise it doesn't work. I know. It's strange how that works. It's very gamey. I agree. Look, at this point I've run out of things to talk about. I've repeated myself on several points several times now, but I think I've done pretty well to talk for almost, what, 3 hours worth of footage? I'm proud of myself. I thought I'd finish up after like half an hour and then we'll just twiddle our thumbs for a little bit. Turns out, not so. Okay, here we go. This should be it. Methinks. Wow, that was a waste of time going off beaten track for that. Are you ready for the glory that is this final fight? See, I'm not sure how I feel about boss fights in horror games. I feel like they shouldn't have them. I mean, you need a suitable climax, but a boss fight just doesn't really fit. In fact, I'm kind of the opinion that really most fighting in horror games doesn't fit. If you're playing something like Project Zero, kinda, because it's not really fighting, it's like it's taking photographs. Fatal Frame, by the way, if you're not from, if you're in the States and you're wondering, what is Project Zero? Yeah, Project Zero did like horror combat like in a way that made it feel not like you were like super powerful. You know, you could fight, but you weren't really fighting in a way that made it go, yeah. It's one of the few examples I can think of, like Resident Evil and stuff, I guess. There is a tendency in the newer ones to be far more actiony and therefore less horror. But I guess like if you've got to ration your things, it's like you can fight, but your abilities to do so are severely constrained. Yes, okay, that works also. Which I think is what this was trying to go for with the period weapons and stuff. It doesn't really work out. I don't think the monsters were strong enough to carry it once, you know, you've had a fight with them a few times. They're far too limited in their capabilities. And also too limited in their variation. And I'm getting my buns handed to me. Kinda. Oh man. Did I kill the big guy? Should probably run, but we'll just... Okay, yep, definitely. Let's get out of here. Out of my way, Skeletor. Whoa! Haha! Nice try. Just pop off to the healing barrel and we will be good. Where are we? I'm pretty sure it pauses when I bring up the map, so it's okay. If it doesn't, then wow. That was kind of stupid. Holy crap! I almost had to restart that fight for a second there. That said, he only does 8 damage, so maybe not. Just want to be at our best before we face down the skeleton. Wow, you really miscalculated there, but it shows that they're aiming at where they think you're going to be instead of where you actually are. Because I was running and he's like, "You're going over there," and I'm like, "I'm going to hide behind this tree, so I'm going to stop here," and he's like, "You got me." That's why they're so accurate. It's kind of a pain. And also good. Like, good from a design perspective. Really, you don't want them to be like, "I never hit you," because you walked sideways. Sideways, my only weakness. Oh. I'm well off track. Yeah, you don't want the sideways walk to be, the way out of things. It's like, oh, if only I weren't crippled by my childhood fear of crabs. Here we go. See, we only had to do 2 waves. So much easier. And now we find out that we are not already done. We've got to keep on keeping on. There is yet more backtracking to be done, my child. Well, okay. But this must be the last time. Don't worry, it almost is. Oh, so here we go. We've got ourselves, I think, a choice. I wasn't entirely sure here, so I picked the one which I wouldn't have normally chosen because I just wanted to see if it was different. And it turns out it's exactly the same. So, okay, I suppose there was no branching path there. Nice to know. I could have looked it up if I had cared. Oh no, we're under attack. Could it possibly be by the most basic enemy in the game? How will I handle myself? Exceptionally well, as it turns out. It did do a bit of damage, but I mean, I was able to heal myself in between. Just mow down these clods. Out of the way, Chuggles. Oh, it's almost too easy. Must have missed some that were coming up the hill from the other side, and now they're in the town. If only they would use the towers, maybe, to, you know, be smart about stuff, but they're not going to, so... Ah! Almost killed myself with those explosives. Ah! Well, I was going to say I almost killed myself with those explosives, but it turns out I actually kind of did. Not that it matters, 'cause it's not like I need them. Might as well use them. 2 with 1 blow. Sure I am the littlest Taylor. They're all very scared of you. Let's see. Yep. There's one of you coming out of the woods. There we go. It's got a much nicer flow to it, doesn't it? I still haven't used my first healing charge. Goodness gracious me. Like that. Did I get them? I think I got them. Almost botched it again. Which would have been a shame. Oh, you're still alive. Wow. We can fix that. Okay, I think that now we're pretty much done. Because can't fast travel while those guys are in the area. And now we can. So here we go. It is decorrupted, which is nice, because it means that our battle is finally over, except that I already spoilified it and told you that it's not. So, you know, this is going to be a shock twist, although it wasn't a shock twist for me either. It was like, oh my god, a horror game with a twist. It's like, oh, the evil was never actually defeated. Haha. Goodness, I never would have seen it coming. But yeah, here we go with Tabitha. She's about to say some stuff to us, and that'll be nice. Betrayer. It's not that bad of a game in summary. It's actually quite enjoyable, as long as you play it with guns, the way it was intended. Don't do it without them. It might be easier, but it's too easy. It's too easy, and that makes it boring. This channel is supposed to be about challenge runs. Challenge being the first part of those runs. But yeah, this was not a challenge. Oh no, she's sorry. It's giant shadows. What a twist. Was she the betrayer the whole time? Plot twist, it's actually no, because you go back to her later because you can continue to play in a New Game Plus sort of situation, and she's like, yeah, I'm not. I'm just never let go of my sister, so the curse still lingers, and it'll be a while before I can actually break it. And it's like, oh, okay, so that meant absolutely nothing at that last cryptic scene before we met. Yes, that was entirely meaningless. Anyway, I'm glad that you enjoyed watching this. I enjoyed making it for you, if not entirely playing the game. But we shall see one another soon, I hope. Until then.